we just finished filming with Kathy Fettke. She is one of the trailblazers of real estate investing that you're not going to want to miss this conversation. I know that for sure. Kathy specializes in teaching people how to build multi-million-dollar real estate portfolios through creative finance and planning. She is passionate about researching and sharing the most important information in real estate, market cycles, and the economy. You might have seen her on CNN, CNBC, Fox News, all of the things. She's written a bunch of really great books, including her most recent that she wrote with her husband, Rich, called Scaling Smart. She is the host of a bunch of different real estate podcasts, and she's just such a kind human. So stay tuned for this incredible call we had with Kathy. Hello, and welcome to the Power Up Your Life podcast. I'm Mandy McAllister.
And I'm Kelly Resendez.
Guys, we could not be more excited to have with us today Kathy Fettke, one of the OGs, broken all of the glass ceilings for female real estate investors. I admire this woman to the ends of the earth. I couldn't be more grateful for you to be here, Kathy.
Thank you so much. That means a lot.
Well, awesome. We had a chance to spend some time with you in Puerto Rico. That was, incredible. Loved your talk. Loved the chance to spend some time with you. So thank you again for joining us there.
Oh, what a special group of women. I love what you are doing.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Tell us, kick us off here for the people who've been living under a rock. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, only a rock that isn't real estate, because in the real estate world, maybe I'm known, and outside of it, not as much. But I started Real Wealth about 20 years ago as sort of a desperate woman trying to figure out how to have enough money to live life on my own terms, I guess is the best way to say it. My husband had a health scare, melanoma. The doctor told him he had 6 months to live. Thankfully, the doctor was wrong on that, or Rich fought through it. Whatever it is, he's alive and well today, although he does get scars all the time. He's still cutting the melanoma out almost every year. But he is here with us today. But 20 years ago, our children were young. We had just bought a big house, too big. Our expenses were too much for basically living paycheck to paycheck, albeit really big paychecks. But it's amazing how quickly you could spend your money when you're not planning for your future or don't really know how to do that. So when we got the scare from the doctor, I had a broadcast career. So I changed my radio show that I had at the time in San Francisco to basically getting obsessed about how do people become wealthy, and even more interesting, how do they create this thing called passive income that I'd heard about, didn't know anything about, didn't know anyone who had it. But I made that the obsession of my show. That turned into my podcast, The Real Wealth Show. Still doing it today. And now we have realwealth.com, which has over 80,000 members. We're continually educating every single week, free education to help elevate others in their quest to learn how to build wealth and passive income.
I love it. It's the giving back that really fills me up. And I know that that's where your heart is too. A big thing that we try to do in this podcast is, you're at step 1,000, and we want to talk to the people who are in that messy middle. So when you feel stuck at something, you know what I mean? Like when you're trying to figure out how to get to that step 1,000, when you feel stuck, obviously I'm sure that there's been times in this big path that you've been on that you have felt stuck. How do you address getting out of feeling stuck when you do feel stuck?
I don't know if you ever don't feel stuck. It's really funny. I live in Malibu. I'm around the wealthiest, most famous, most powerful people in the world, and I see their inside lives, and it's not really that different. I think there's always new obstacles, maybe even bigger ones as you go. And I don't mean to scare people, but that's just the reality of it. I think we're here on this earth to figure out how to get through obstacles. It helps us learn and grow. And again, I feel like that's really why we're here. So learning, knowing, it's almost like the slack line, Rich and I slack line. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's like you get on this little tiny thing and you stand on it. And when we've got a couple in our backyard and when people come over and we put them on the slack line for the first time, they're trying to balance it and make it stop moving. And you will never get that thing to stop moving. It moves. So you actually have to learn how to move with it. And that's part of like slacklining, is being graceful and moving with the bumps. So I think first and foremost, this idea that you're going to end up on a beach somewhere with a Corona or a margarita and never have another issue, that like that's the, that's the goal in life. That's just not how it works. So again, just learning how to move with these obstacles and move through them and know that you're getting stronger every day because of it.
It's the idea of it doesn't get easier, you just get better. And I think you are breathing life into Miss Kelly Resendez's life right now.
Yeah, Kathy, that's amazing. I think most people do believe like there's a destination that they're trying to reach where they don't have to go through some of the challenges. And like you said, it's continuous. It's the resiliency. It's the, you almost grow to expect that they're coming, and how do I prepare myself for those? So like really going back to the very beginning of when you started the company, because we have a lot of listeners that might be a W-2, they want to start a company, they're just at the very beginning. What would you say like the most important aspects of, when you created a business, like where did you start?
The thing about business is that it's really hard. And I just want to be honest, like you have potential lawsuits, and we have been sued. You have unhappy customers sometimes if you have a bad day, and it's almost like being a parent. You're like a perfect parent. And then the one day that you have a bad day, that's what your kid remembers for the rest of their life. They have to go to therapy for it. So, you know what I mean? I'm telling you, I got older kids and I'm like, are you kidding me? You don't remember the 20 birthdays that I did perfectly and the one I didn't? Anyway, that's just.
I've got similar stories, Kathy.
Yeah. So it's not easy. And I think for me, the only way I've been able to get through those hard times is the incredible passion I have for it. So I think it would be hard to have a business you don't really care about. I guess that's just, maybe it's possible, but I don't think it would be possible for me, because it has to be exciting enough to get me out of bed and know that I'm going to overcome it. And and that what I'm doing is making a difference. It has to be a bigger vision. And kind of coming back to something you guys said of, your skill set just needs to get better to be able to handle it. I would say that is super true. Like I am I'm a skier, and when you first start to ski and you go down the moguls, they're terrifying, and you probably will get hurt, and you probably won't even want to do them. But now I'm at a place in life where I am looking for them. Like I love moguls because I know how to ski them and it's fun. So constantly improving your business skills is the same thing, so that like when the lawsuits come, and they will, I look at it and go, I have such amazing asset protection. Plus we have all these, it's like a real estate agent. You have releases that people sign, and you're set up so that you know how to handle these challenges. I guess that's the best way to say.
No, that's great. And I want to go a little deeper on this passion thing, because we are hearing a lot out there in the world about like, you should own a business. This is the way that you get there. And for some people, they're like, hey, you don't need to have passion. But, I think that's where you've been able to endure this for so long. I mean, I think that's the biggest difference, right? Yeah. And what would you say like are the greatest professionals that you also chose to surround yourself with in the beginning to ensure that you had that asset protection, to ensure that you were set up for the future?
I was lucky in the sense that I had a pretty major radio show in San Francisco, so I was able to interview the best of the best and get like personal conversations with these people. This was something that wasn't available back then. There weren't podcasts. I'm dating myself, but there wasn't a podcast. The only way you could really get information was pay an attorney a whole lot of money, or a CPA a whole lot of money, or take a boot camp. They didn't even have really quality things. So I had to figure out a lot on my own. Back then, even RIAs, like real estate investor groups, were just really set up to sell product. And every single week, someone would get up there in a fancy suit and people would run to the back of the stage to buy whatever they were selling. There wasn't like freely available information, which is why my business took off. I made it freely available.
Amazing.
But really for myself, it was like, I wanted to know it. Right. So if I weren't interested, like I look at my daughter, Krista, who you guys know, and she never was interested, because she didn't have the same struggles I had. so her passion is going to be different than mine. And I could never kind of understand, why isn't she into this? Why doesn't she want to take over my company? Well, turns out, she didn't have the same struggles. I grew up in a generation where my mom couldn't even be on a checkbook by herself.
Right.
Oh my
She couldn't be
goodness.
on title of a property. There was so little power, and I grew up with that. My daughter didn't. So her passion is going to be different than my passion. And her passion turns out to be travel. So she set up a business around that. As you guys know, she helps people buy international real estate. And so I forget your question, but
No, that was spot on. I think what you said is that you just constantly were surrounding yourself
oh
with
yes,
experts
yeah.
that could
Then
support the
I was
areas
lucky
in your
enough.
business.
I was lucky enough to have a platform that gave me access to people when that was difficult.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't find a real estate investment group that offered what I wanted. So I started one.
Yeah.
And that, again, all
There
that
you go.
became, it was like, I can't find what I need. I'm an entrepreneur by, I don't know, blood. So it was like, if I can't find it, I'm going to have to create it. That's
Right.
just how it's always been for me. Today, it's a little different. There's more for you, but there's always, I think that is the core of an entrepreneur, is like, I need something, I want something. I guess I'm just going to have to create it because it doesn't exist.
Totally. If you're going to scratch your own itch, you're going to have to sign up to do it yourself. And I do
Yeah.
think, so like you said before, becoming an entrepreneur is signing up to fix problems, right?
Yes.
You got to anticipate that the problems are coming. Tell me a little bit about rituals or recipes. So when you're looking to create success or just live your daily life to create success in a day, tell me a little bit about your rituals or recipes.
I've I don't want to say perfected it over time, but I've learned, I think it is our job to learn ourselves. And the more we learn ourselves, the better we get at life, right? So I had to figure out, I can't sleep. There were years, I have an entrepreneurial brain, and a lot of other people I met at your event have busy brains. They're that's kind of the entrepreneurial brain. You can't ever turn it off. And so I had sleeping problems, and like, why? It's hard to function when you can't sleep. I found out, like, when you have a busy mind, you have to be really careful about things like caffeine or wine at night. These are things we love. I love coffee ice cream. It's probably my favorite thing. I can't have it because it has coffee in it. Who knew? I thought it was like coffee flavor, but it's like real coffee, the ones that I like. When I would eat that at 9 o'clock at night, and guess what? I couldn't sleep. Wine, same thing. Love a red wine, favorite thing. Can't have it because it typically will keep a woman awake starting at 2 a.m. It's like, boom, it's just the sugar in the wine. So just kind of learning and observing what's working, what's not, and then taking and having the discipline to kind of let go of some of those things that you love so much and finding other things. Like I've been able, there's decaf coffee, right? I can have a cup of coffee at 6 a.m. and that's it. Like never after that, because I have a busy brain. Watching TV at night. Again, I'll do these things on the weekend, but not midweek, because it's the same thing. The blue light, I think it's the blue light from the television will keep you up. So unless you have the glasses that you wear, to block that, the blue light blockers, and or just don't do it, read instead.
Yeah.
So I would start to notice, and then, wow, what a difference a good night's sleep makes. So it starts to become like, okay, my good night's sleep doesn't start at bedtime. It starts like 24 hours before.
Yeah. And Kathy, what a powerful statement. And most people don't realize the impact of this. One of the challenges so many entrepreneurs, especially women, have is a lack of sleep. They feel like their time, like it's in scarcity. But when you start with understanding what a priority sleep is, your energy level to be able to do those other things is so much higher. So
you got to, put your mask on first. I trained my kids that, mommy's going to be not as nice to you if she doesn't get a workout in. And so like I got my kids to support me, and Mom, you seem a little stressed today. I think you should go to the gym. It's like, oh, that's right. I forgot. I'm much better. I can handle stress when I pump some weights. You got to get that. You got to sweat like hard. I'm like, a lot of people don't like to sweat, but I'm telling you, when business is stressful, and one of the best ways to deal with it is exercise. So exercise, sleep, eating well, all these things that we know. And most people know, but just don't do. And so it's the doing it. It's like, first of all, learn and then do it, and you'll be much more effective.
For sure. Another area that I think just differentiates, super successful people like yourself from others, or maybe having some unconventional beliefs or ways of managing certain things. What would you say where you go against the grain? Like, what would that be?
I mean, there's a lot. I'm definitely unconventional, but I put it in Scaling Smart. Rich and I wrote that book together that I spoke on at GoBundance called Scaling Smart. And it sounds like a book about, 10xing your business and stuff, but it's really quite the opposite. It's like, how can your business serve you instead of you serving your business? And so many people get into business and suddenly they are working harder, longer hours, a horrible boss, which is themselves. And life is actually harder when the dream was that this business could make life easier. And that's, people laugh whenever I say that because it's just true. So carving out, like, first and foremost, again, knowing yourself and remembering, why did I do this in the first place? And usually, like, it's to spend more time with my kids, to have freedom of time, to have a great relationship, to be healthier. And none of those things happen. In fact, the opposite happen generally. So until you are clear about what is the most important thing and carve it out, like in your schedule. Rich used to, Rich is a coach. We're both coaches, but Rich is a more famous one. He was part of creating the ICF, which is the International Coach Federation, and
amazing.
Like he was one of the forefathers, I guess, of coaching. And so what he'll say to his high powered clients is, they come to him for business, but the first thing he'll ask is, how's your relationship? And they're like, why are you asking? I didn't come here for relationship advice. He goes, yeah, you came to me for wealth and business creation. But if you don't invest in your spouse, you're going to lose 50% of your wealth. So what's the point of building if you're going to,
and mic drop.
Right. And then you'd be like, and how's your workout? So like, I didn't come to you for that either. And he's like, well, if you don't invest in your health, you're going to lose 100% of your wealth. So we're not going to talk about wealth till we look at the whole picture. Mm. And most of these men save their marriages, save their health because they just finally took a look at it.
That is 100% the basis of what GoBundance stands for. Mm. We've got these gardens, these 6 pillars of a really great life. And yes, financial freedom matters, but it's just one of the things that matters. We do goal setting around all of the things that we feel matter. So I feel in complete alignment with you there.
But then, it's like, it, but doing it's another thing. So when you are in the throes of building a business and learning stuff you never really thought you'd need to know, running a business is like having a family, like depending, as we've got 20 employees, it's like having 20 children. And it's not like our employees are children, but that's what it sometimes feel like. And then you add your clients and that's like another 100 children. And that's a big household. And, I would walk into Montessori's when I was looking for them and there would be all these children would be sitting at their tables doing their thing. It was peaceful. You go into like another one and it's like, crazy. So, it can be managed, right? There's just say you have to have the systems in place. But coming back to like what is unique about us is Rich would implement it. So in the throes of like our phones are ringing off the hook and there's issues and problems, because there always will be, he would say, honey, I booked a trip. We're going out of town tonight. I got the babysitter. Like, I can't go. I've got too much to do. He's like, it'll be there on Monday. You could take care of it on Monday. Mm-hmm. And he would commit to at least once a month having a romantic night away. Mm. And for the first hour of the drive away, I'd be mad. Like, I can't believe you took me away from our kids and business. Like, and I've got too much to do. And then within an hour, we were back in love and honeymooners and having a great time. And that has now, 28 years later, our marriage is as hot and sexy as ever because we invest in it, right? We commit, we set it aside. And if you don't carve out for the things that matter, believe me, they won't matter.
Mm. Well, and if you're working with a spouse, that is so much even more important.
Yes.
Yeah.
But either way, if you're working or not, you've got to invest in it, make it a priority.
Absolutely. Totally agree with that. You talked a little bit about finding clarity. When you're without clarity, when you're lacking it, what are some steps or some kind of actionable things that you do to help yourself get to clarity?
Our heart is our greatest guide, and especially for women. I think I talked about this at the event.
So powerful.
We try to think things through. We try to use our brains to figure things out, and of course, our brains are useful. but the greatest wisdom comes from our hearts, and we know so much, but oftentimes are cut off from it. So there is a company called excuse me. There's a company called Heart Math, and they teach you the power of your heart and just some simple exercises when you're feeling confused, when you're feeling like you just can't make a decision or figure something out. Take a moment, put your hand on your heart, like literally. Imagine your hand is your heart, and that you're breathing into it. And as you breathe in, the energy around your heart and your hand just grows and expands, thinking about something you absolutely love, anything. It could be your puppy, it could be your baby, it could be a beach somewhere. Just imagine that and breathe into that and feel the heart expanding. And then ask your heart the question. What about this partnership, or what? It's just incredible how the answer will come.
You just want to hang out there all day, Kathy.
Right? Because there is literally a physical connection between the heart and the brain, and the heart actually has the wisdom, but too often we are cut off from our bodies and from our heart.
Absolutely. Well, I could talk to you all day just because I feel like your spirits and whatnot. But we're just so grateful that you were here with us. And one of the main things that really, I hope everybody's listening to, no matter where you are on your path, is that when you put your relationship and your health first, everything else, is gonna, really fall into place and that much faster. And so many people don't do that. That's really what hit home for me, and it's just such a great reminder.
Having those boundaries. If you don't know truly what you want, you won't even know how to create the boundaries to protect it. So
you got to do that work first to begin with the end in mind. There were a couple of things you said that I absolutely loved. The idea of the slacklining being this metaphor for life. You've got to learn how to dance with it in order to stay on.
I want to go to Malibu and try this slack line now.
Come on out.
Anytime. I'm like close to you in California, Kathy.
You're welcome to come.
I love it. And I totally believe too, for myself, this idea of our job is to learn ourselves, because it all starts at home. You want to scale a business, you want to, have a romantic life, you want to do anything big, it all starts at home. You're never going to outpace, your net worth will never outpace your self-worth, so until you figure out what that is for you. I could not be more grateful for you spending some time with us. And one thing that we really challenge our members to think about is to be prepared with an ask. And you do so much giving back to the world that we would love to ask you, what is a resource or an introduction that would change the ballgame for something that you're working on?
Oh, thank you. Well, we're always looking for real estate deals for sure. What
kind? Be specific.
We are looking for apartments now, distressed situations, not that the apartments, not that the apartment is distressed, but the I guess the owner of it maybe in the wrong debt structure that we can help them. So definitely apartments. We do build to rent communities, and we're always looking for flippers, like just single family or 1 to 4 unit flippers who maybe want to start flipping to investors, because that's what we do. We have an investor group looking for rental properties nationwide. So always looking for the teams. Yeah.
I have a couple introductions for you.
Yay.
So I will follow
up.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, Kathy, you have been just an awesome guest. Just dropped so many wisdom bombs for us today, and so grateful. For our audience listening, what's the best way that they can get a hold of you?
Realwealth.com is our website. Real like real estate, wealth like your money, realwealth.com. And then, of course, I have the Real Wealth Show podcast.
Awesome.
Beautiful. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us on the Power Up Your Life podcast. please make sure you're sharing this episode, liking and subscribing because of these truth bombs that Kathy drops. Whoever needs them, make sure you're sharing it. And we will see you next time.